All right, what's up? Today I'm going to be exposing yet another worthless human being. This time it is going to be this person named TTaesarang. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. She has a big following, 1,486 followers. Um, so she is kind of a good example of a type of sex shaming that we don't talk about. So let's just get right into it. So she's she's talking about me. Okay, so here's what she's saying here. We still talking about the same random masturbator. If he has a YouTube channel, stop giving him views. So she's calling me a random masturbator. Um, so like I said in my previous video, I share videos of beautiful women, porn stars, having sex and stuff like that. And do I masturbate to porn? Yeah, millions of men do. So there are people who. So we talk a lot about sex shaming women, right? And we usually sex shame. We as a society sex shame women for having sex, but there's a type of sex shaming that isn't talked about a lot, and that's how people, um, oftentimes women, but not always women, uh, sex shame men. And the way men are sex shamed is different than the way women are sex shamed. And they're sex shamed in this way, which is they're sex shamed for masturbating. And they're sex shamed for being virgins or for being involuntarily celibate. So, in her mind, masturbating to porn is disgraceful. It's something that's shameful. It's something you should be embarrassed of. Really? Really. We have all kinds of words for these kinds of things when they pertain to, you know, like certain kinds of kinks. We call that kink shaming. If we were to say this about a woman who is, having sex, we would call that person a slut shamer. But this is the kind of slut shaming. Well, I shouldn't call it slut shaming. I guess sex shaming. This is a type of sex shaming that we don't talk about enough, and it really, really needs to be talked about because it's a big problem. Okay, so scumbags like TTaesarang, um, they will sex shame men just for watching porn. Just the mere act of watching porn and celebrating uh, female beauty, which I find to be gorgeous. I find women to be absolutely beautiful. Not her; she's hideous. Um, but she had to start sex shaming people in order for me to see that hideousness beyond, her exterior, which is also not very flattering. Um, so let's look at some of the other things that she's saying. So here she says most incels are. People with healthy sex lives do not need to see this much stranger dick on a regular basis. So not only is she sex shaming men, but she's also homophobe. Like, why are you implying that I am gay just because I'm sharing porn? Like, that's like you're trying to belittle me and belittle myself as a human being based upon whether or not I'm having sex and based upon your assumptions about my sexuality. Okay, I'm heterosexual, but I'm perfectly secure in that. I stand up for LGBT rights. But what she does, she attacks men in the same way that all these thugs do back in high school, where they will they'll make fun of guys for being gay or call them the F word and so forth. She's doing the same exact shit, sex shaming men and then being a homophobe. What the fuck? Why does she have so many followers? And she tries to paint herself as a left winger. That's the scary part. She's trying to paint herself as a left winger. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff she's saying. It's the timeline of a man living post castration. What? OMG, imagine having this kind of kink, putting it all over your Twitter? Exactly. Like, so when we're talking about kinks, that can extend to any kind of sexuality, even if it's just quote unquote just normal sex. Um, and we call that kink shaming. So she's sex shaming, kink shaming, and a homophobe. What the fuck? And yeah, she subscribes to eugenics too. That's not a good look. That is not a good look. Subscribing to eugenics? What the hell is the matter with you? So so this is the kind of thing that I think should be talked about more, and I might make another video about this. But this video is primarily to expose a real big problem because a lot of men do go through problems, sexual problems, because of some people, like I said, mostly women, but not always women, who sex shame men for simply having sexual problems, whether it is that they are unable to get laid or that they're insecure with women or so forth, and so these people, these kinds of sex shamers like TTaesarang, try to belittle them as human beings based upon something that pertains to sexuality. That's horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. Whether sexual orientation with whether or not someone's a homosexual. Well, okay, let's say I was a homosexual. So what? And watching porn. There's nothing wrong with watching porn. And it's no different than how we talk about that there's nothing wrong with sex work. Okay, well, who do you think are the patrons for sex workers? So, sex shaming the sex workers is as wrong as sex shaming the patrons of sex work, whether it's patrons for prostitution or people who watch porn. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And then, like I said, there are certain problems some men have, like involuntary celibacy. And again, I want to make a video about these issues more in depth, but I don't believe that I should do that here. Okay, so later on, we'll go more in depth about involuntary celibacy and the problems associated with that. And we'll also talk about more of a broader issue with sex shaming men and the problems that that leads to, which includes all kinds of mental illnesses, and depression. Sex shaming of men is a big problem, and since we don't talk about it enough, it has gone undiagnosed for a long time. And people like Tae Sarong are contributing to this kind of toxicity in our society with this kind of sexist vitriol. All right, guys, have a good one.